Hi, everyone. I know it's like 7:15 in the morning, but I wanted to do the July reading now and so that you have it because we're in July 1st. I'm not going to take a ton of time. Like I'm going to like end promptly at 8 o'clock because I have to go, but I do want to come in and sort of talk about the energy for July. I'm not doing readings, so just so you know. Also, if you are going to try to solicit readings in this, I will erase your comments. So please know I'm not messing around with that. Okay, let me get all set up here. We're in July. Can you believe it? It feels like it's just been a fast year. But also June was kind of intense, right? Mercury really was retrograde. It was challenging. So if you're here, pop in and say hi. Okay, so let's talk about July's astrological aspects. And then we can talk about the medicine that's coming through for July. Hi, Kiko. Hi, Dawn. I know, I can't believe it. It probably works best for you because it's 7 a.m. here, but I'm happy with that. I kind of need glasses on. Oh, well, okay, because I'm having trouble seeing. Hi, Kim. All right, I'm going to do this reading quick. Okay, so the astrology that I use a lot of different sources. I'm not a trained astrologer, but then I try to make sense of it. So this reading, hi, Sylvia, I'm going to use a little more like intricate astrology than I usually do. And that's only because it seems apropos. We don't have like, for example, in June, we had a full like Mercury retrograde for a long time, right? So, but we have an interesting aspect just coming into July. So Mars opposes Saturn today, that starts, and then Mars is square to Uranus on July 3rd, and it basically is like stoking fire, okay? And it's like a perfect storm to feel like a victim and to want to like cause friction with other people, especially those who hold some power, who we perceive to hold some power. And I think that can be a really valuable part, is like our perception is really part of this Mars opposing Saturn and then square to Uranus. So I love it. Channing Nicholas says this. She says, "This will rattle us free from our paths of least resistance." Isn't that great? Oh my gosh. It's probably not going to feel comfortable though. Here I go. Hair up, hair down. She says, whatever change you're inciting, tolerating, or resisting in your personal life, or whatever change you're shepherding, witnessing, or shrinking from on the collective level, it's coming to a flashpoint. So I think that's kind of important too, right? Which is like, this isn't change that is just coming out of nowhere. It's not like a tower moment. These are things you've already been resisting. So we're just kind of saying, you know, hey, this is time for us to like, we're going to get this change whether we want it or not. And it's important for us to recognize that this was already in the works, right? And I think like the medicine that's coming in here is that we have to be tenacious and strong and understand our boundaries. And we just don't have to like we have to watch how we hold our boundaries. Like what she says is like as devastating as wildfires are, they also release nutrients and stimulate growth. But the trick is containment of the wildfire, right? When they do controlled burns, it's fine, but when it gets out of control. So I think it's the same with our anger and with some of the stuff that's coming in. We tend to like tolerate a lot of stuff, right? Hi, Pooja. We'll take a lot of crap from others and then explode on someone. And then they're like, where did that come from? Oh my gosh, you're so angry. And you're like, well, I've been sucking it up for a while. And the point here is like, the more we suck it up, the more we're going to explode. Hola. Hi, Patty. So she basically says like, Mars, Saturn, and Uranus are all planets of resistance. So while Saturn resists change, Uranus resists the status quo, and Mars resists anything blocking its path, you have this like resisting resistance being part of the struggle. Okay, so like basically she's saying, think of quicksand here. You know, the more you fight to get out of the quicksand, the faster you're going to sink. So you're not supposed to burn everything down. You're supposed to make everything like a contained burn, right? So that's kind of the important part of this. And it felt weird not to like talk about it, even though I'm not an astrologer, but all of this seems really important. Later in the month, Venus opposes Saturn, and Saturn's in the square of Uranus, and that Venus is in Leo. So it's opposite Saturn in Aquarius and squaring Uranus and Taurus. All this stuff that's happening is basically like Venus is how we feel about our life. Saturn is opposite of Venus. So the way we feel about life becomes restricted and controlled. So this is another opportunity for us to break free of emotional patterns that don't serve us. And you'll see with the card that we got for the month, the tarot card of the month, we're asked to really look at this in our primary relationships. Okay, because we're working this month with the Lovers, and it came in reversed. So when we have reverse or upright, they still work the same way. So we're asked to like look at those unhealthy patterns in our primary relationships. And those can be the most challenging because first of all, we pattern them often. Like, for example, I've been married for 15 years this year. I've been together with him for 16 years. I was such a different person at 16 years. So I've laid emotional pathways, and you have. I agree. You know, I can suggest that you've probably laid emotional pathways or relationship pathways when you were a different emotional person. Okay. And this is part of why some of these aspects can be really important, because we can break free of those old patterns that were established when we were different people, and we have to relay them, you know, and that's challenging. That's not easy. I'm not saying like, oh, this is going to be really fun work. It's not, but this is an awesome time to kind of work with this, because the sun's in Cancer right now, and Cancer has this like really lovely, watery, emotional feeling to it. So we have a new moon on the 9th, which is in Cancer. So the new moons are always in what the sun sign's in, and then the full moon's the opposite. Okay, so that's why we just had a full moon in Capricorn, because Capricorn is opposite Cancer on the wheel, right? So this new moon is like a really great time. Also, Cancer is like a sign of rebirth and birth, and it's great for like creativity and creative projects. This is a really good time to do creative projects, especially around the new moon on the 9th, which is next Friday. So it's just a really good time. Then you'll start seeing like more of that energy coming in, because once we enter, Mercury will enter Cancer. So there's another time that your emotions and intuition are going to be really heightened. That's going to happen on the 11th. And Venus is going to be conjunct of Mars on the 13th. So that means like basically they both attract each other, and they're also like opposite poles of a magnet. So they end up working really well together for creative stuff. And, you know, creativity is one of those things that we talk about, and most people think, oh, that means we're going to be painting and painting. That's not what it means. It means like rebuilding, you know, thinking of things 3-dimensionally or 5-dimensionally, or however you want to say it. You know, it's really about looking at all the aspects of something and being creative and interested and curious about the outcome of it, you know. So it's really going back to the source. And you can think of source as both source energy and source, the heart, and understanding who you are, and then recreating something, so you can really find that July is going to be an awesome month for some of this work, this creative work. And then the Venus will enter Virgo, which is, we love Virgo. Virgo is a practical earth sign, but also like they're just a planet of, Venus is a planet of feelings, and Virgo has like this way of using their feelings to get stuff done. So it's going to be fun. That's July 21st. And then, of course, the sun enters Leo, and Leo is the sun's favorite sign. And so it's always a good time for all of us. This is why it's a really good abundance time in August every year, because you just have this perfect trinity, this perfect coming together. I shouldn't say trinity, but perfect coupling of the sun being in the sign it loves, so you can do, you have like a lot of doing happening. It's an active time. So that's kind of that energy. We have a full moon in Aquarius on the 23rd. Aquarius full moons are interesting. They're usually far out and a little wild, but I think because we're looking at some of the same aspects of January or early 2020. And what I mean by that is like we have the Saturn Pluto conjunction. You're going to like kind of notice how far we've come, since 2020, which is great. We need that. So we have a lot of great energy in July, and I'm excited for it because we need it. We've just had this like really intense Mercury retrograde period. And while I love the full moon in Capricorn, not everybody loves the full moon in Capricorn. So it's okay. Hi, Kim. Hi, Susan. Hi, Lauren. So anyway, let's talk about some of the medicine. So like I said, we're working with the Lovers for this month. And the Lovers is an interesting card. It's a major arcana, again, following our trend of major arcanas for this year. It's the 6th card. And you can see that it's there's an angel blessing. Basically, this is Adam and Eve. And you can see the snake behind Eve's shoulder there on the tree of knowledge. This is pre-eating the apple. And everything's blissful. You can see the clouds kind of forming there. Shit's about to happen. But Raphael is overseeing everything. So this is a time for healing. And we usually do most of our healing in relationship. And I said that earlier, but it is important to remember, like, we always kind of joke about, like, how do you know I'm doing well in my spiritual journey? Ask my partner, ask your partner. How's everybody in your house think you're doing? You might think you're doing a great job, but if you want to know how my spiritual condition is, ask my husband. So that's because we are completely vulnerable with each other, which is why the Lovers are naked on the front of the card. They're really bearing their souls, and their wedding is presided over in heaven, like in this like deep healing soul contract kind of way. And we kind of blow that off a little bit. Like we talk about it a lot. Oh, we have these soul contracts with people, but we really, when we think about that we've signed up to do deep healing work and karmic healing work with another person, that means that we get challenged. It's not all sunshines, and hence the clouds coming in. It's interesting Snake came in because we're going to be talking about Snake a lot today, because that's our medicine for the month too. So, and now like I get to see it everywhere, because I also we'll talk about it when I talk about Snake, but the Lovers is a wonderful card for both healing and recognizing some unhealthy patterns. As we heard with our astrology, like this is a great time to do work on structures we built around ourselves that aren't serving us. So also remembering, that while we have this relationship, this Lovers relationship, once we kind of make that pattern, that commitment to each other, and we start moving forward in our contract, that Eve eats the apple, okay? And that knowledge, the knowledge of another person, the deep knowledge of our own wounding, the deep knowledge of where we have emotional limitations, becomes even more important for us to do our soul contract, which is to heal. Okay. So don't think of it as like, oh, this person's made me an awful person. No, that was there all the time. The person just put a microscope in on top of it, or a magnifying glass, so to speak, on top of our own wounding. And part of that is because we have ideals and we have reals. And so we have to deal with the real. The Lovers, this card is the ideal. It's the wedding day. It's the most perfect of the days, right? But we have to remember that there's all kinds of temptation, there's all kinds of clouds, there's all kinds of things that happen. And so managing those becomes the important part of the Lovers work. And we also talk about unhealthy attachment, codependency, things like that when we work with the Lovers. And while that may not be something that you think you deal with, once you get in a relationship, I think we all have wounding around our relationships and our families of origin. Even people who have trained in these things need work, and need help. So we're just noticing. We don't have to, like, that's the other part, is no one's bad necessarily. We're all wounded. And so we're just going to try to heal those wounds together, hence the soul contract. So this month is really about looking at the ways in which we have need to burn down our structures that aren't serving us. And a lot of those are in relationship. Okay. Hi, Susan. There's 2 seasons right in a row. So we're going to do that in relationship. And that's not going to be easy, but I know you can do it. I know you can. And we can do it in small ways. Like, it doesn't always have to be our primary romantic relationship, though the Lovers often is that. We can also do it with our partners at work. We can do it with work. We can do it with our children, our sisters, our brothers, our parents. We can look at, like, what is the healing part of this? What is the unhealthy attachment? And how do I repattern that? And there's a lot of work, I think, that can be done for repatterning and learning new ways of doing it. The problem is that you both have to be on board for wanting to change things, and that can be a hard part. But remembering, like, some of the warnings of the astrology, which is like, let's not burn the whole thing down. Let's just do a contained fire. Like, when we're angry, we're stating it in ways that aren't abusive or unkind, or we're not throwing things or yelling or having tantrums. We're actually having a conversation with a controlled anger. Anger is very useful. It tells us when there's injustice. So you can use that controlled anger to fight for justice for yourself and for another person, if that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about some of the other medicine, the other earth medicine we had. So I pulled a mystical shaman card, and we got the rainbow this month. And the rainbow in the mystical shaman deck is about the 7 steps to your spiritual enlightenment, basically, which is, it also represents the 7 chakras. So this is really a time when you could go and seek some energy healing and balancing. This would be a great time to do inner work. And I think it's often the symbol of, like, you are in good relationship with spirit. You are connecting with your guides. So that's another part that, like, I didn't really talk about with the Lovers, which is that they're presided, who's presiding over them is Archangel Raphael, who is the archangel of healing. He is the one that comes in to heal situations, to heal bodies. He's the archangel of health. Hi, Kathy Rose. So, we're not being left. Like, we're doing this work precisely because we are in relationship with spirit. So sometimes we think, like, oh, why has spirit left me when I have to do all this deep work? It's not that. Spirit has nudged you towards the deep work because they've got your back. Spirit's got your back. And you are protected, and you've been doing deep work already. Like, you don't get to that point of healing relationship with other until you've done the healing on yourself. So this is kind of a reminder that you've done that work, and self-care is vital during this. time. Okay, so the rainbow comes in to remind you of self-healing. So I pulled, I always pull earth medicine cards too. So what I pull are like, I pull an herb or a plant medicine. I pull crystals and I pull an animal medicine. And then I have membership groups that basically are like to get readings throughout the month. I do one on the new moon, one on the full moon, and then we do a shamanic journey. And the shamanic journey is with the animal medicine I pulled during this reading. And then, kind of sometimes weave things in. But anyway, the earth medicine, the plant medicine that I pulled, I used the cards from Maya Toll. And this was her first book. She's actually a trained herbalist. She's just so cool. She's an artist, and I love Maya Toll. I bought this book when it came out. Like I pre-ordered it, and it came out. And I opened the book, and the first picture that I saw was this. And I'm like, I want that tattooed on my body. It's like an anatomical heart with red clovers and bees all over. And I was just like, this is the most amazing photo or drawing. Or I guess the illustrations are by Kate O'Hara. I love them. Anyway, the card I pulled today is of that one. I love it so much. Look at that heart. Ugh. So what we're working with for the herb this month is red clover. Now, red clover is, you probably have it in your yard. It's actually cultivated to feed animals, but what the medicine she has for it, what she said it works really well for, is centering and grounding. So getting to the heart and centering in the heart space and in the love space. So I think red clover is a wonderful one, particularly because it is really vibrant right now. We see it all over, and it's great for the pollinators. So, and she talks about like, when we're rooted in the heart, we can also ground into the earth. So really powerful medicine there. So working with red clover, I believe you can get it like as a tea if you want to work with some of this medicine like in the body, or you can just kind of like just sit in the clovers and ground and do meditations. I know I have a lot of clover in my backyard, and you can use whatever clover you have. If it's not red, that's fine. But we've got that wonderful medicine in the heart chakra, which goes right along also with the lovers, So got that. I'm going to reorient here. Okay, there we go. All right. So let's talk about the stone medicine for the month. Oh, Lynn said Alvita has a red clover tea. Thank you, Lynn. I knew I saw it. All right, so we're working with some really interesting stones this month. The first stone I pulled was ruby. Ruby looks like this. I love, this is, a wonderful representation of the crystal system of a ruby. So ruby, the word they use is excitement, but I think of ruby as the stone of being in the home, of like grounding in the body, grounding and protecting in space, like in your home. It is wonderfully resonant with the root chakra, but also kind of works with the heart. So ruby is lovely, and you can get ruby in combination with other things, right? Like right now, I've been working with this ruby and kyanite a lot. And oh my gosh, this is just blows my mind. It's so amazing. You can work with ruby and swozite. You can work with ruby and fuchsite. Ruby combines with a lot of other things. So you can think of it also as being one that can heal a relationship, right? So ruby can be a wonderful guide for working with the lovers and working in the heart chakra. So especially if you've dealt with feelings of insecurity, feelings of being like ungrounded, feeling like you are not feeling loved. And that can be the lover's work too, right? We can work with ruby to kind of combine those things. And so each of the stones that it combines with can tell you a little bit about that, right? So when you're looking at ruby combined with fuchsite or ruby combined with zwozite, for example, they're both green. So you're going to be working with grounding in the heart space, okay? And acceptance, right? So we're talking about accepting love, in those spaces. Whereas when you combine ruby with kyanite, for example, you're working more with the third eye, the throat. You're kind of combining how to ground your visioning. When I was actually in labor, I used ruby and kyanite on my womb space. Like I rubbed it all over because my friend Joe McConnell sent me a ruby and kyanite, and I used it the entire labor, just rubbing it over my belly. And I especially did it like the last hour when I needed to open really quickly before they were going to like cut me open. So, and it worked really well. So ruby is wonderful and a wonderful guide. So think of it as being a root chakra and heart chakra linker. So really good. Oh, thank you, Kiko. Yeah, it is. I love their natural shape too. These barrels are wonderful. Kiko said, I got a ruby and kyanite sphere. I need to work with it now. Yeah, ruby and kyanite is just so special. Hi, Leaf. Oh, see you, Kim. Have a good day at work. So the next stone that we picked is Carnelian, which is a creative stone. What's funny is that I had Carnelian. I work with this Carnelian sphere all the time. It's maybe one of my workhorse stones that I use. Like I think I've had it on my altar in some capacity for the past year. It is, I either put it on the altar or make a grid with it. And I just dismantled my Carnelian grid this week because I was making another grid. It was like, you're not leaving me, bitch. I'm coming back. I'm going with you. So I'm like, all right, Carnelian, you're back. I love you. Who else kisses stones? Carnelian's part that activates and is an action-oriented part of the sacral chakra. It works with creativity, creative visioning. It is really, really amazing in healing the wounds of the sacral, sexual trauma, things like that. But it's also powerful in the ways that it can transform energy into, more joyous, more emotionally useful than just feeling like a victim. I don't know how to say that without sounding like I don't want to demonize feeling like a victim. I think that can be a very useful way to think of trauma in some ways. And in other ways, like we don't want to get stuck in the loop of trauma and in victimhood. So I think the wonderful part about Carnelian is it helps give it some teeth that you can work with. You know what I mean? Like, how can I process this? How could I possibly process my pain? How could I possibly process what has happened to me? Well, Carnelian is kind of like a transmuter, a changer of energy in that way. I mean, it's not like black tourmaline doesn't have that process, but it is an emotional transmuter. And I love it because it gives you the power to kind of take back your power. And it works in the sacral, but also works in the solar plexus because it has like a doer energy. It's an action energy. So you get stuff done with Carnelian. So I love that too. So there's that. Oh, do you hear my little puppy snoring? Oh my gosh, she's not a little puppy anymore, but yeah. And I was also working with Carnelian in a heart. This was like a really little heart I got. I don't even know where I got it, when I got it, and somehow it's been popping up in me wanting to work with it. So we got that. So you can work with Carnelian too to heal sexual partnering too, which is another aspect of the lovers that we can also be healing and working with this month. So Shirley said, adore Carnelian. Hi, Shirley. Much love to you. Okay, Kiko said, gorgeous Carnelian sphere. Thank you. I have a Carnelian palm stone sitting on my altar now next to my manifestation grid. Carnelian feels very summer solstice to me. Yes, it does feel very summer solstice. I agree. That's probably why, like, I work with it a lot with my Congo citrine. Like, I always put them sort of together. I don't know. There's something about them together that makes me happy. But I think that's going to be a nice combo with the ruby as well. Yeah. Oh, Susan said, I've got a Carnelian flame. Those are so beautiful. I feel like of all the flames, like that's a new, I don't know if you guys know what that looks like. Most probably crystal people don't quite know. It's carved into like a point. It's like a base, and then it'll come up kind of spiraling and look like a flame. So they're carving stones into that now, but Carnelian just seems made for that, right? It just looks like a flame to begin with. All right, the third stone that we're going to be working with this month is Serpentine. I just bought this gorgeous Serpentine palm stone to carry it with me, and I have a really beautiful Serpentine that Teresa sent me that I just love. I'm going to grab it. Oh my God, my green aventurine just landed on my modem. Hopefully everything's good. You're still here, so I'm sure it's good. I love this piece too. This is such a special altar piece for me, not just because of what it is, but because of the fact that it was a gift. So Serpentine, I work with both on the heart. I also work with it in the wonderful spiritual plexus between the solar plexus and the heart, which gets stuff done spiritually. So I work with Serpentine a lot. This is a stone of confidence. You know, one thing I have to say about these monthly readings is that I just pick these randomly, and I'm always blown away of how applicable they are to what's going on astrologically, what's going on personally, all that kind of stuff. So Serpentine is just a wonderful ally. So I place it between the heart and the solar plexus often, especially when I'm journeying or when I'm doing healing that seems to be ancestral or karmic or old. That's a wonderful thing. And it works with, we call it the Chartreuse ray. That is like a physical ray. Okay. And so if you work with crystals, Katrina Raphael's book, Crystalline Illumination, has a whole section about the physical. She calls it the high physical body. And she basically says the Chartreuse ray, and she says you've got the solar plexus, you've got the heart, and when you combine the yellow and green, you get the Chartreuse color. And this is the combination of the heart and the solar plexus. So it is, let me see if I can. She says, Chartreuse is the color that's seen in fresh, young plant growth. Within new shoots of flora, the primal life force is strong, and this is why we work with the Chartreuse ray. Basically, it's like pure energy spiraling outwards into the physical world. And this potency, when factored into the use of the Chartreuse, can consciously be used to activate personal will with more conscious control. So I love that. This is why I have, when I started working with Serpentine, I worked with Peridot, Serpentine, and Golden Apatite, which has like it's golden in some way, in some aspects, but then you can kind of get like a green gold apatite, which is amazing. So working with Serpentine became like so valuable to me, and I work with it a lot when I work with clients. Like even when I do group healings, I usually use Serpentine at somewhere because I just think it's such a powerful healing stone. So I'm excited that we're working with it for this month. So this is a get shit done stone too. So you got all three of these are get shit done. So think about what it is that you want to bring in. Remember, the creative energy is really powerful right now. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to zip. So I'm excited about the combo. I'm gonna make a grid and post it on like Instagram or something to show you how these all work together, because I just think they're gonna synergize really beautifully. And if you don't have like ruby, for example, you can use garnet. They have similar energy. If you don't have carnelian, you can use like fire agate. Though if you have fire agate, not carnelian, that'd be a little shocking. But with serpentine, you can use stones like peridot if you have it. Serpentine is going to be a lot easier to find than other chartreuse stones, so I would probably go with serpentine. Easy to find. You don't have to buy like quote unquote healerite. You want to use a yellow green serpentine, because serpentine comes in different colors, and there are trade names that are equivalent. So healerite is basically yellow, yellow green. Yellow green serpentine is healerite. Oh my god, I got lost in my words there. Kiko said, I just ordered a mala with carnelian, peridot, and serpentine. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Yeah, serpentine palm would be great. All right, so let's talk about the medicine coming in, because I pulled snake. Now, it was so funny because recently I said last year I did 3 snake journeys. They were all about different aspects of the snake. One was shedding skin. One was snake in the Orphic egg, which is a rebirth one. And then I did snake in their hibernation, their brumation. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, another snake journey. But I just started wearing these snake earrings. For whatever reason, I had a class on Tuesday, and I don't know why, but I put this snake on, it's like a little jar of snake skin on my altar. Again, not quite knowing why. So snake is coming in hard. I also saw, I live in Pennsylvania, and we do have rattlesnakes here, but I have never seen one, except for last Sunday I saw a rattlesnake, or maybe it was the Sunday before. Some guy just like pulled in front of us, stopped the car, we couldn't get by, and he just like had this long pole and he pulled this rattlesnake out of the grass, and I was like, whoa, it was huge on top of it. So I think I'm going to be working with rattlesnake in particular. So obviously snake has tons of medicine. They're represented in lots of different cultures. We see it in the myth of Adam and Eve as the tempter. And it comes in as one that sheds skin. When it sheds its skin in full. So like the eyes get kind of milky looking, because the skin actually covers their eyes, and then it pulls up slowly. And so then it also is a guide for visioning, mystical work, magical work. There's just so many aspects, but I think we're going to work with snake this month. I definitely saw like rattlesnake in the desert, and I'm going to use the rattle for this journey, and work with healing and rattling off energy and doing stuff like that. So if you're interested in doing journeys with me, I do a monthly journey that you can. It's just all through audio. It's $20 a month to be part of the membership, and I send you a copy of the journey via an audio file that you can download. And it's like, basically I'll pull the card today, and then like within 5-6 days I'll have the journey up and ready to go. Oh, Susan asked a great question. How do you work with snake when you're afraid of them? Well, in journey state, obviously snakes don't act the same way they do in real life. And so often we say the medicine comes both when you're afraid of them or really attracted to them. There's medicine there for both those aspects. So part of it is, that we are human. Most animals are afraid of snakes because we don't know if snakes are venomous or not. So it is scary to see a snake in real life. Most of us jump back. And the first time I ever saw a rattlesnake, I was hiking in Arizona, and I was walking on a path, and I jumped before I consciously processed the fact that I saw a snake. Like I was, I jumped, and then I was like, oh, snake. It's like my animal brain just saw the pattern on the top of the snake's skin and was like, danger. And that was a very interesting turning point for me in terms of like um understanding my relationship with the earth, right? Is because we are hardwired to fear some animals. We're supposed to. Another time that happened was I took my baby Zachary when he was so little. He was like, he couldn't walk, so he was like 9 months, maybe a year. And my friend had gotten this really cute baby kitten, and it was so cute. And so we went over to pet the kitten and play with the kitten. And my older kids just went right for the kitten. The baby was sitting there, and my daughter brought the kitten over, and he was looking at it. And when it looked into his eyes, the baby screamed like he was being attacked. And I was like, oh, it's a kitten. Like, what the heck are you afraid of? And this is like my kid that like is not afraid. And my friend said something very, very useful for me. She said, cats are predators, and your child is still an animal, And like I had to like process that too. Like we know when something is a predator or it's prey, right? We know inherently. So just because you're afraid of something doesn't mean it's not going to have a spiritual gift for you in Journey. In Journey, they have a different aspect altogether. And that's part of their medicine, is that they're predators, and that they're scary for some people. So, we can work with the spiritual aspect of snake without being like freaked out by them. So some of the things we can ask in Journey is like, why am I so afraid of you? Like, what is it that you twitch off in me? As Susan said here, I live in Georgia. We have copperheads. Well, we have copperheads in Pennsylvania too, and they're deadly. Like rattlesnakes are deadly. So, but when we work with mountain lion, for example, mountain lions are deadly. Like we can see that all those predator animals that we work with are scary in real life, but they aren't. They can be our allies in the Journey world. Does that make sense? So you don't have to be friends with a snake in real life to work with it in shamanic Journey, if that makes sense. All right, guys, I'm at 8:00, so I'm going to log off, but thank you for joining me for my Earth Medicine reading of July, and that'll be up on YouTube for you to like look back at. So love you all. All right, bye.